Societies generally view economic crises through a specific psychological lens, the belief that pain is a temporary interruption before an inevitable return to normal. Right now, global logistics networks are stalling as critical supply chains face increasing physical pressure from unseen resource constraints. In the middle of the ocean, massive oil tankers are abruptly changing course and abandoning their original destinations to chase localized fuel supplies. These persistent logistical failures and fuel shortages in Europe represent the first measurable evidence that our global baseline has entered a permanent downward shift. This evidence forms the basis of an emergency warning from the No Normal Initiative, a coalition of over 40 academics, researchers, and scientists. Their analysis suggests the global system is currently functioning exactly as a depleting system must, regardless of public expectations. Systemic depletion is a mathematical certainty. Reaching the limits of finite resources forces a sharp departure from the era of abundance toward a permanent trajectory of contraction. Future economic planning must now account for this specific downward slope, where scarcity becomes the dominant factor in every global transaction. Clinging to the hope of a recovery prevents communities from preparing for the practical hardships required by this new physical reality. The last few decades of rapid economic growth and cheap consumer goods represent a massive historical anomaly rather than a sustainable baseline. This anomalous era of growth relied entirely on the rapid, one-time extraction of finite fossil fuels. As these resources dwindle, maintaining the appearance of a functioning system requires increasingly extreme and forceful measures from the world's major powers. We see this desperation in the breakdown of peace talks and escalating military posturing around vital resource choke points like the Strait of Hormuz. Current geopolitical chaos is the physical manifestation of countries beginning to fight over the remaining fragments of a shrinking resource pool. While the electrical grid often dominates the conversation, the most immediate threat to the domestic economy is a shortage of liquid fuel. Modern civilization depends on a structural surplus of diesel to maintain the physical movement of the world. A sudden diesel deficit immediately paralyzes heavy logistics, leaving the trucks that supply our cities unable to complete their routes. This paralysis reaches the core of human survival by halting the tractors and heavy machinery required to produce our food. The physical collapse of fundamental infrastructure becomes a certainty when the structural supply of diesel can no longer meet basic operational needs. Logistical failure leads directly to economic contraction, creating broken supply lines and the sudden closure of industrial factories. Financial markets will likely react with extreme volatility, as investors realize the global system has hit its hard physical limits. Beyond the economic damage, the most significant threat to social stability is the psychological shock to a public that still expects a return to abundance. We are currently experiencing a brief window of relative calm before the wider public fully recognizes the reality of systemic failure. Once the reality of scarcity becomes undeniable, we can expect a massive surge of public anger and widespread social confusion. This period of panic provides an opening for opportunistic political figures to gain power by promising simple, impossible solutions to resource depletion. Navigating this transition requires abandoning the toxic hope of normalcy and accepting the reality of permanent scarcity. Immediate, clear-eyed adaptation offers the only path toward organizing a society that remains humanly acceptable in an age of limits.